What's up, guys? It's been a while. Alrighty. I was inspired to play a little bit recently because Nate, ever the innovator, has been trying different cards in the Brea deck. And I made some adjustments for it for the last couple of expansions. And I think I brought in about maybe 4 cards or so. Narset, the Talisman of Creativity, as well as Archmage's Charm, and of course Force of Negation are all in the deck. I know that Nate is soured on Archmage's Charm, but I actually decided to record and post this game because I think it's such an awesome exhibition of just how insane that card is. And granted, that's with the caveat that the UUU casting cost is often prohibitively high. But considering that Nate wants to replace it with a card that costs WW, I'm not sure which card is imminently more castable in the long term, given the fact that there are so many blue mana sources in the deck. And we're using a Talisman of Creativity over a Felwar Stone, which is a more consistent source of blue mana. I'm up against Sawyer 3 here, and I'll get to the commanders in a second. I'll leave them out and open. So I'm using Breya, and he is using Tasigur, the Golden Fang. This guy's always generally presents a challenge. Obviously one of the best overall commanders, particularly for a dual commander. Very flexible, in great colors, capable of delving out on turn 2 or turn 3 sometimes. And yeah, there's the showcase card right there, Archmage's Charm. 3 often awesome modes, including, of course, just countering a spell for UUU, which is expensive but not a ridiculous deal. The draw 2 at instant speed, also a little overcosted. But then there's that final ability, which is gain control of target non-land permanent. When you see this card, you think of converted mana cost 1 or less permanents, including, obviously, the 2 best cards in the format, Sol Ring and Mana Crypt. Of course, there's also a bunch of other things like Deathrite Shaman and Birds of Paradise and Noble Hierarch and Skull Clamp and Mana Vault. There's tons and tons and tons of amazing permanents in this format that cost 1 or less. So I think the flexibility of the card is tremendously strong. Obviously, this card is better in my Nin deck because my Nin deck runs pretty much all blue mana sources, and Brea has a little bit more varied mana, but it really does have a lot of blue sources too. I haven't done the exact count, but it's got every blue dual land that's good. I'm running a couple of the Ice Age and I'm not sure, I guess Invasion blue lands, the Shivan Reef and the Underground River, one of which is in my hand currently. We obviously have Opal and Mox Opal and Mox Diamond, and there's 3 blue producing talismans and Coalition Relic and the Lantern and Gilded Lotus. There's just a ton of blue in this deck. I would guess upwards of 20 blue mana sources, and I think that's probably enough to justify a second card costing UUU when the power of the card is so high. So anyway, without further ado, time to begin. I'm going first. Very, very keepable draw, not exceptional, but does have all 4 colors in it. It's just a matter of figuring out which land to play first. In this case, it's going to be Verdant Catacombs due to the fact that you generally, with this deck, you want to fetch initially with your more narrowed fetch lands, so that includes the ones that have green overlap, because they only get, well, this one only gets white mana sources. It obviously gets every color, but a little bit more narrow in terms of scope compared to Flooded Strand, which can get more lands later. All right, let's see what Sawyer's up to. He just plays Overground Tomb. I'm going to fetch up Watery Grave. I'm going to let you guys take a look at the deck list really briefly here. If you've watched Nate's videos, you're very familiar with what is in this deck. I think our decks are different by only about maybe 1 or 2 cards. Nate is always experimenting, and I'm more content to just stick with the status quo until something major changes in the format to convince me otherwise. The one thing I also have in here at Nate's encouragement is the Cephalid Coliseum, which makes a hell of a lot of sense when you've got, where is she? Narset Parter of Veils. This guy, this Planeswalker is absolutely nuts. So powerful. Just that top ability is insane, particularly in multiplayer also. And Brea is so good at protecting its Planeswalkers. And 3 mana Planeswalkers in general amazing, but this thing comes with 2 impulses attached as well. And obviously you can't get lands, but I mean you can get pretty much anything you want, including ways to tutor for land with it. It's a super bomb. And obviously if you get Narset with the Cephalid Coliseum, that can force an instant discard 3 to your opponent that happens during their draw step. And if you happen to get it with the Crucible of Worlds, well, it is lights out, because you're basically make them draw nothing and then discard 3 during their draw step, which is their card drawn for the turn. So you can interact at instant speed during their draw step, and they're reduced to casting only instants for the rest of the game. And that's usually enough to put somebody away, in addition to the fact that the card just has so much autonomous abilities. And the cost of including Cephalid Coliseum in the deck is relatively low. This was a basic island, and I think if you're running this deck in multiplayer, I think that using a basic island in favor of Cephalid Colosseum makes sense because you're less likely to get that combo set up against, well, you can't really do it against multiple players. And having a basic island to fetch in case somebody casts Path to Exile on one of your guys is pretty important. You feel really bad when you have no basics. So I would make that switch in multiplayer. There's a few other ones as well. But that's really the only land-based switch that occurs between multiplayer. And I guess Nate runs Throne of the High City. He probably runs it in place of one of my blue producing dual lands, so either Underground River or the Shivan Reef. And that certainly makes his issue with the Archmage's Charm a little bit more salient, and he certainly has a better argument for that, given the fact that you can't cast Archmage's Charm off the Throne of the High City. I'm not completely sold on the card. It does feel a little bit win more to me, but it is very, very good in a lot of situations. Anyway, without further ado, Watergrave comes into play. All right, Trinket Mage. That's super timely. So I'm going to go just get a Tundra with that, play the Grim Monolith. So this is basically a nice setup. This will get a red-blue dual land, and then the Underground River will provide the fourth color. Mana Confluence. Of course, the Masterpiece Soul Ring. I think this card is, it seems like everybody plays with the Masterpiece version of this. I suspect it probably only costs a couple dollars online. And it's funny, too, because it's so expensive in real life. It's like $500 or something, but I think online it's super cheap. All right. Talisman of Dominance. And Thought Vessel. Good lord. He just went from 1 to 6 mana in one turn. All right. Well, I played Grim Monolith, and I'm still behind. But look at this, guys. Archmage's Charm, Soul Ring, and the blue mana to play it on turn 3. Wow. And timely Mana Crypt to keep things even. This was such an incredible draw. I was thinking about what I was going to do, and I had the ability to go tap a Tundra and a Grim Monolith to cast Trinket Mage to go get a Mox Diamond, discarding the Underground River, and using that to cast the Archmage's Charm. But drawing the Mana Crypt gives me a lot more flexibility, of course, as it usually does. So that allows me to do it this way. And in fact, because I have another artifact, I'm just going to go get the Opal instead, since there's no reason to throw away the Underground River. I'm definitely going to have oodles of Metalcraft after stealing his Soul Ring. Look at that. I think it's the first time I've actually done that. I haven't really played with the card a tremendous amount, but I think that's the first Soul Ring I've ever stolen with it. Pretty amazing. Just ramp him down from 6 to 4. And I put out, God, how much mana this turn? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 6 myself. Pretty nuts. All right, so he plays Mana Vault. And then plays this thing. Wow. Talk about a bomb against my deck. Karn the Great Creator. Holy shit. This card is absolutely nuts. I wonder how the artifact card from outside the game works. I guess that probably doesn't work in Commander for anything but in Exile. So if you were to get artifacts exiled, you could probably use the ability. But either way, it is null rot against just my stuff, which is 4 artifacts, and it nullifies Breya and just turns Breya into just 6 power and creatures, including 2 flyers. But more importantly, that plus ability allows Karn to kill these 2, which is really crappy, and that's exactly what he's going to do. Goodbye, Mana Crypt. Not like you were doing much anyway. I'm so glad I've got a creature on board, and I'm so glad I've got Underground River, and I'm so glad I didn't get Mox Diamond. My God, that would have been... If I'd gotten Mox Diamond over Opal last turn with the Trinket Mage, that would have been, well, probably the end of the game, because this would have been in the graveyard, and I would not have the ability to play Breya. The Mox Diamond would, of course, do nothing, and he'd have just free reign to do whatever he wants. But thankfully, I've got Underground River and not Throne of the High City, and it's able to cast Breya. All right. Mana Vault dings him for a point. He offs the Mox Opal, which is quite okay with me. I'm just thinking, please don't have anything here. Like if he had Ancient Tomb, that would have been, it would have been put me in a position that would have been almost impossible to win from, I think. But he has no play, because I stole that Soul Ring. I draw Mox Diamond. That's hilarious. All right. Get in there, guys. Get in there. Get him. Get him. Yes. All right. Sigh of relief. That insane bomb is off the table. And now I'm going to play Fabricate here. I'm playing this first, obviously, over Tezzeret, because I'm fully expecting him to have some sort of counter magic with 2 blue untapped and 4 cards in hand, and it resolves. And give you guys a minute to think about what you might get. There's definitely some good choices here, including, obviously, the Gilded Lotus is good. potentially Expedition Map, because he didn't play a land last turn to go kill a Mana Confluence. But the thing is, because he's playing Tasigur, loading up his graveyard with destroyed stuff doesn't really get rid of mana. And same thing is true for using Sword of Feast and Famine to make him discard. So with that in mind, I'm going to get card draw in the form of the Clamp. Plus, this is very cheap, and if I play it and he counters it, then I can follow up with Tezzeret the Seeker. And, all right, Clamp comes down. I'm going to definitely clamp up one of these tokens right now. And my hope is just to get a land so that I can discard it to the diamond, possibly even 2. And look at this. Tap out. I'm thinking, what the hell is he going to play? And he has Notion Thief. Very clever in response to the Skull Clamp. But fortunately, I have the world's best planeswalker, or best commander in play, in the form of Brea. So, he's going to sack off this Grim Monolith and that other Thopter. Actually, no, that's right. I decided to sack off Brea. I have 6 mana available already, so I can just, thanks to his Soul Ring, so I can just replay the Brea next turn, and this keeps both Thopters in play and allows me to clamp them both to draw 4. So that kills that problem. I love how Brea just handles threats. If you think about it, this game, Archmage's Charm handles Soul Ring. Brea handles this completely nuts thing all by herself, and then I've got Brea's ability to, Brea's secondary ability to deal with the ridiculous Notion Thief with a Clamp on the stack that would have allowed him to draw 2. And I get a really, really good draw off that too. I get Mana Vault and Confluence. So nuts. All right, so I throw that away, use that, and I can still cast Tezzeret the Seeker. So gross. All right, I'm going to untap the Soul Ring and the Mana Vault. I'm going to use that mana to clamp up the Thopter, just get it off the board. So meaty. Gilded Lotus and Mystical Teachings. I love Mystical Teachings. The card is just so good. All right, clamp up the Trinket Mage since there's no reason not to, and that protects me against some sort of removal. And having a 3-power guy out is probably just better. All right, he takes 1. There's Scalding Tarn. And he reanimates. All right, well, I can kind of understand this, I suppose. He just needs something. Although he did have the option to just play his Tasigur with me tapped out, and that seems like maybe that would be a little better. But perhaps he's worried about me, I don't know, copying the Skull Clamp and double clamping my Trinket Mage and drawing 4 off of it or something insane. So it's not the craziest play in the world. Unfortunately, for him, I have 3 blue mana sources in play and a Tezzeret with 5 counters on it, and that does not bode well. So, I'm going to just go ahead and yoink that guy, clamp him. It just seems so wrong. Skull clamping your opponent's Notion Thief and you draw the cards. Oh man, the humanity of it all. All right, I'm going to play the Wooded Foothills here. Clamp up. And no reason to play the Gilded Lotus at all. Not that I can see, because I'd rather have all my mana available for whatever he does on his turn. Goes back to his turn, he takes a point, he draws a fetch land. Well, I guess he's got a few options. He's got 2 cards in hand, and he decides to play Tasigur when I've got 3 blue and a Wooded Foothills in play. This is, I suppose this is quite a gamble, given the fact that maybe he's banking on me not having, I don't know, Steam Vents in my deck. I'm going to cast Brainstorm and get some junk. So I'm going to throw away the City of Brass and the Urborg, since I don't want to give him extra black. Not that it really matters. Sacrifice Wooded Foothills. And there's Steam Vents. That's 4 blue mana sources. And I'm also going to cast Mystical Teachings here during end step. And I gave some thought here to getting Mana Drain over Forbid, because I can still cast it at the end of the turn. But really, he's got 3 mana in play. If he had the ability to kill Shackles, he probably would have already done it. And I don't think that there's anything that I probably need to forbid right now, or that I need to counter right now. So with that in mind, I'm just going to take the forbid and pretty much put this game away 100%, because with Tezzeret and all this extra mana, I can play Breya and double clamp and have enough food to feed the forbid probably forever. So I'm just going to take the sure thing, and recognizing the fact that he's locked under forbid, and I'm about to steal his Tasigur and start using its ability to regrow my graveyard, Mr. Sawyer 3 packs it in. Anyway, I thought this game was cool, not only just to showcase some of the new stuff in the Brea deck, but obviously also to showcase the raw power of Archmage's Charm. And granted, it is very situational. Having it at the beginning of the game when your opponent has a Crypt or a Soul Ring is a rare interaction, particularly with the 3 blue. But I mean, if you look at this, look at the board state, right? I've got 6 blue mana sources in play. Every fetch land fetches blue. And I've got a Gilded Lotus also. I mean, I think that perhaps Nate is not recognizing the sort of consistent potential of the card, and obviously the top end potential of the card to just completely swing and swing games and just completely wreck opponents. And I think that alone makes the card worth using. I'll continue to play with it, and if I keep drawing it in situations where it doesn't do much, then I will probably consider sideboarding it out. But I think the card is really on the power level of Cryptic Command and can potentially do more, and is actually cheaper than Cryptic Command as well, because it only costs 3 versus 4. But I'm very curious to hear other people's opinions about it, if you've played with the card much, if you've used it in your own Brea decks, and whether or not you think I should be running it. And hope to have some more games when I find time and interest to play them. See you guys later.